So, I said I was going to do a Skyrim challenge run in my last Metal Gear Solid run, and I'm a man of my word. So let's get straight to the point and find out, can you Ironman Skyrim Beyond Bruma on Inconceivable difficulty? So to start, let me explain what Ironmanning a game means and what Inconceivable difficulty is. Inconceivable difficulty, a difficulty taken from the Gears of War series, which is one of my favorite game series, is a difficulty in which, as per normal difficulty increases, the enemies either gain a massive damage modifier and deal even more damage than the prior difficulty, being insane in this case, or your health is decreased lower than the prior difficulty, which is the case in Gears of War, effectively achieving the same effect. What separates it from the generic difficulty increases of most games is that, on Inconceivable difficulty, in a more realistic survival-like twist, both you and enemies have your health lowered by the same degree, which we'll be achieving the effect of through the use of a combat overhaul mod and spin-off from the Wildcat combat overhaul called Smilodon that has a patch to balance damage, meaning while enemies on legendary difficulty will be dealing 3 times their normal damage, instead of doing 1/4 of my damage as per normal legendary rules, I'll also be doing 3 times my normal damage. The other part of Inconceivable is fewer ammo packs and weapon drops, so to imitate that portion of the difficulty, I'll barely pick up weapons of any kind from any source and never use any weapons other than a select few I have picked out. Overall, the limited resources and the fact that you hit just as hard as the enemy does definitely changes your playstyle from a regular legendary run, as you have to scramble to find a weapon capable of one-shotting your enemies, and from there on, it's who can one-shot who first. It's less about being ultra defensive and more about strategy and efficiency. Also, as I mentioned prior, the last part of Inconceivable difficulty in Skyrim is that I have to complete the challenge on legendary difficulty. In my last Ironman run, Can You Beat 4 Skyrim quest mods on Authentic mode, I tried to play through the whole game on Expert, but had to bump it down to Apprentice when I noticed my footage was getting close to 30 hours long. This time, I've got to play through the whole game on Legendary, and not only that, but as per the hardest game mode in Gears of War, I can't just beat the challenge on Inconceivable, I have to Ironman the challenge on Inconceivable. For those of you that don't know what Ironmanning a game is, basically, it means I can't save, so if I die, I have to restart the entire game. Alright, that about covers the gravity of the situation. Let's get into the challenge. So, first things first, I set my difficulty to Expert and turn off all autosaving because I initially planned on playing this on Expert difficulty, but after the tutorial, I decided to change it to Legendary as per the challenge rules. I added a couple of difficulty increase mods like Encounter Zone Rebalancing and Loot Rebalancing, but nothing on the level of last time since a legendary Ironman run was already going to be hard enough. As for the special theme for this video, where it was the Predator for last run, this run, I'll be Kratos from God of War. Just realized the God of War is doing a Gears of War challenge. Alduin shows up and is literally right behind us, but the Imperials seem to be completely blind to him, talking about, "What in oblivion is that?" and "It's up in the clouds," when it's clearly a dragon right behind us. Well, I head off to Hadvar, and with a reason this time, since the Bruma Border Patrol will let me pass if I'm with the Empire, and I equip my Leviathan Axe, Exile Armor, and Guardian Shield I get as a part of the Kratos mod. I also favorite my Spartan Rage spell, which I think is totally awesome that it even exists, and my Tap Divinity power. I don't know what effects they apply even now after the run is ended, but I do know that both make me significantly more powerful, so they're definitely useful enough to hotkey. After that I use Cathedral Meditation to change my world filter to look more natural and vivid, and I'm finally ready. As I move through Helgen Keep, I make sure to take as many armor and items as possible, not touch any of the weapons, either leaving them alone entirely or putting them back or dropping them if I accidentally take them. The fact that weapon drops are limited and not outright banned makes things a bit easier because if I happen to accidentally pick up a weapon and not realize it, I can just continue as normal without any consequences. That can just be one of my few weapon drops. In the section with the most enemies in the same area, I test out my Spartan Rage and boy is it everything I could want except maybe more kill animations. Everyone gets annihilated in a single hit, but the downside is that you can't open your menu, which will become important later in the run. Tap Divinity makes me strong enough to kill the frostbite spiders and survive, but their poison does a significant portion of damage. Luckily, I think Tap Divinity has a strong regen effect. After escaping Helgen, I changed the difficulty to Legendary so that the game can truly begin, and head down this lush, beautiful path to grab the Warrior's Stone buff, kill some wolves, and get to Riverwood to speak with Alvor. A sequence of events that'll become all too familiar. Also, just thought I'd mention, like last time, the one exception to the no saving rule is that I can load from a save if the game crashes, and I can save and load when I'm done playing for the day. Because unlike Kratos, I'm not a based god of war, and I do need my nappy time. I rob Alvor blind, sell all the armor I looted, and start a quest to help these mercenaries kill some bandits. See, I know this is Can You Ironman Skyrim Beyond Bruma on Inconceivable difficulty and not Can You Become a Successful Mercenary in Skyrim, but I figured in order to stay alive in a legendary Ironman run, I would need two things that some low-level odd jobs can get me: experience for levels and money for supplies. Besides, if you wanted to see Can You Become a Successful Mercenary in Skyrim, you could just go and watch a Cyberpunk challenge run or something. You may have noticed I've made my way out here alone. And that's because the two mercs hired for the job in the first place would not budge from the inn porch where I met them. So I tried to take on the bandit camp solo with my Spartan rage, but since it wouldn't activate for some reason, I decided to flee to regain some health and just go in with the Leviathan Axe and Guardian Shield. It went okay at first, and I was able to clear my way through the main camp and the guard at the entrance of the cave, but a bad combat exchange with a bandit highwayman dropped my health to almost nothing. And even after healing to almost full and blocking his attack, one hit from the bandit ringleader hit me so hard, just like with Thor and Jormungandr, I was sent back in time to the start of the game. Well, there goes half an hour of my life. Everything goes the same as before in Helgen, though I noticed how dark my last filter looked on recording, so I went with cold and vivid for a darker but still visible look. Since I'm on Legendary this time around, the Frostbite Spiders almost kill me with Venom, but Tap Divinity keeps me alive, and I get my Warrior Stone buff off the wolves and get Alvor's stuff with no hassle. I try to help the mercs with a different bandit killing quest, this time telling them to follow me, but they're stuck again, so I head to the bandit camp location and decide to wait for them. Should have known that Maik was an ill omen, because apparently waiting 2 hours isn't enough for them to get to the location, but another 4 hours on top of that is enough for them to get there and die, which fails the quest for me. I decide to head back to Riverwood to pick up some of those solo notice board quests and grab them all. On my way to slay an undead at Forsaken Cave, I head to Whiterun and grab some missive quests from the Whiterun missive board, in case I run through all the Riverwood notice board quests and need more work. This is called foreshadowing. I decide to go for killing the bandit leader at Silent Moon's camp instead, thinking it'd be easier, but learning from my mistake last time, I decided that before taking on a bandit camp, I'd cut my teeth on the Windhelm pit fighters, making some experience and gold in a couple of Oblivion-style arena matches. Well, my first match was against some low-level animal enemies, and a bear. That one-shots me. And there goes another half hour and change. This time around, the filter of the run is warm and bright, so it should be easier to see things all around, and the world looking like sunshine and rainbows definitely won't be a total psychological disassociation of the horrible world around me where even a rabbit could kill me at any moment. This time, even after tapping into my divinity as the god of war and the son of Zeus, I was killed by the Frostbite Spider poison overdose. To match my mood, this time I go bleak and bright, so you all can see this sad world I live in. And this time I tried to combine Spartan Rage and Tap Divinity, but it would seem that activating one cancels out the other. A lesson learned and paid for with my death. Now we're rocking a cold, blooming, vivid filter, and honestly, I like it. Makes all the colors really pop. It's at this point I realized that more of the script is being devoted to describing my E and B filters than progression of the challenge. But luckily, I had a plan to get past the spiders. Sacrifice Hadvar. Sorry brother, you're just gonna have to be spider bait. After escaping Helgen again, and finally getting to experience the outside world again, I do my little start of Warrior Stone, Wolves, and Alvor, and this time I'm able to get the mercs to lead me to the bandit camp. Because of their buggy pathing, getting to the quest took a while, which is even more unfortunate because immediately upon getting to the camp, the main merc dies and the mission is considered as failed. I cleared the rest of the outside camp and decided to take on the notice quests I'd picked up before leaving Riverwood, but instead of going it alone and dying like all the other times, I learned from my mistakes and evolved. In Markarth, there's a special companion waiting for me that'll be my best companion and closest ally during this run, but before I get her, I've gotta go to Bjorlum to cart me there. Upon arrival, I stop a murder and recruit my dom for this run, Santiago, not Toretto, Remiel, the Brenton Dwemer mechanic. I skipped the intro quest since I've wasted enough time not in Bruma already, Thank you, mod author, for that option. And I exhaust all of her speech options, getting a free 500 gold and some special potions. Also, a little bit of a side tangent here, this companion is adorable. She's got a cat named Numi, named after the Numidium, which is just dorky enough to be cute. She's adorkable. Anyway, we head to Whiterun, I grab some missives, and we tell Jarl Gigachat about Riverwood. I decide that now that I have Remiel watching my back, I can do some of the early main quests for experience and gold. So we go to Riverwood, I sell my loot to Lucan, I recruit Fondle as extra backup, and we set out. We take out the group of bandits outside and inside Bleak Falls, and work our way through with no difficulty to speak of, even offing the big Spidey in a couple of seconds. Next I snag the Golden Claw and work my way through the Draugr, until I face off against my first Draugr White. Seeing as even Restless Draugr go down from one hit of Leviathan, I was sure it would be a simple matter of hitting him once or twice and moving on, until that happened. Every single one of these deaths, except for the Frostbite Spider death, had surprised the shit out of me. It's honestly hilarious to think about. I 100% had the exact same reaction every single time. I just go, oh, and have this surprised look on my face and freeze. Total shock and disbelief. It's a riot. Anyway, from the top, the filter this time is just cold and blooming, and the strategy to make it through Helgen remains the same. Everything plays out the same, and after selling off my stuff to Lucan, I grab Fondle straight out of the gate, and while the mercs weren't there this time around, I still grabbed up all the notices. On my way to Whiterun, I think I passed them, but I was on to bigger and better things already. I went to Markarth, stopped my second murder in this city, and grabbed Remiel and ran through her dialogue again. Remiel demonstrates her power in the meantime by phasing through a woman? And after grabbing the Markarth missives for later, I set off for Whiterun knowing that I'm in good hands. While there, I grab their missives, get the main quest rundown, and head back to Bleak Falls Barrow for round 2. Before heading there though, I stop at the War Maiden to sell some junk and accidentally accept 2 delivery missions with a timetable. So I go ahead and knock those out. They were pretty easy, just walk to a place and give a thing to a guy, then cart to Solitude and rinse and repeat. I only had to contend with a couple of wolves on the journey. At Bleak Falls Barrow, everything goes more or less the same except this time, in the same vein as letting Hadvar deal with the Frostbite Spiders, I let Remiel and Fondle weaken and distract the White before I finish him off. Unfortunately, my victory was all for naught, as this line of swinging axes kills me 5 seconds later. I wanted to continue this save for a bit, since assuming I'd be back here for a later run, I'd need a plan to get through without dying after the axes. After my little fiasco,
oh brother, this guy stinks!
I actually destroyed the Draugr White Lord incredibly easily since Leviathan just kept freezing him. I give the Dragonstone to Farengar because I don't remember which mission comes after Bleak Falls. And seeing as it's the first dragon fight, I decide that this mission could require a little planning and testing as well. Ironically enough, the quest ends in a flash as I get stuck in the tower by a body-blocking guard and my companions, and the guard companion army kills the dragon in seconds. After turning in the quest, I remember that you get Lydia as a reward, and decide that it might be a good idea to play the main quest at least this far in from my next challenge run attempt for 3 solid companions. I do a couple more notice and missives quests to get a feel for payment amounts, quest difficulty, potential experience to be made, stuff like that. And for my first mission, a guy with a horse and a carriage has me deliver a letter to someone like 40 feet away? So, not a strong first impression. Then I deliver a letter from Whiterun to Riverwood, head to Valtheim Towers while rain pours and lightning rips across the skies, on my way to wipe out the bandits there, which is significantly easier with 3 companions, turn in that quest, and head to go wipe out another bandit camp since I'm feeling myself. I even made myself 2 new Leviathan Axes, one one-handed, the other two-handed, and I make myself the Kratos Spartan Drip. I'm able to take out the main camp even easier than normal with my new clothes and new companions, but when I get one-shot by this bandit highwayman at the entrance of the cave, a bandit easily one-shot last time we fought, I realize that what I'm doing goes beyond just planning and testing, and enters into the realm of just playing, more importantly wasting time I could be spending on the challenge. I get my revenge on the bandits for killing me, but I know what I gotta do. Give up these companions and new armor and new weapons and get back to the challenge. Before doing that, I head to Bruma and play through for about an hour for real, actual testing, but after that hour I've tested and planned for the first dozen or so missions, and I decided I don't think I even need to prep in Skyrim. I can just grab Remiel from Markarth and go to Bruma straight away. The filter for today is another warm and bright. I wanted Bruma to look its best. Nothing of note happens during the Helgen run, the journey to Riverwood, or when I go to get Remiel in the Silverblood Inn except my stopping a third murder. Like, the guards in this city are either blind, sleeping, or willfully ignorant. Seeing as I had spent about 5 hours recording footage at this point and I have no real footage of me actually trying to beat Skyrim Beyond Bruma, I wanted to actually make real effort towards that goal moving forward. Since we're headed to Bruma now, I think it'd be a great time to explain just how I plan to beat Skyrim Beyond Bruma. So the objective here is to beat all 41 quests listed in the All Quests page of the UESP's Skyrim Beyond Bruma page. Some are radiant and only need to be completed once, others are so miscellaneous they don't even have notifications, and one of them doesn't even work, but the goal is to beat them all. There are also some missions, like a Stormcloak in Chains and Whispers in the Mountains, amongst others that, despite clearly being quests in Skyrim Beyond Bruma, are not listed. I'll complete all of the quests in Bruma that I'm given, but I can't try to actively seek out all the quests in the entire mod expansion as that would take way too long. Anyway, speaking of a Stormcloak in Chains, unfortunately my skill speech isn't high enough to finish the quest, so I save it for later after getting past the initial stages of the quest. That was at Pale Pass Fort, and right down the road is Snowstone Rest, a small bar where I can start the Barneas Tribute quest and the Word to Bruma quest. Unfortunately, I found out that, of course, I had at some point accidentally switched my difficulty to Expert, so I had to scrap that whole 40-minute run and start fresh back on Legendary difficulty. Should've known things were going too well. Going warm and bright again for the best visuals so far in my opinion, and all the prep you've seen me do several times now goes off without a hitch. On the way to Riverwood, I spotted a group of humanoid enemies, but OBS kinda stuttered, so I don't know if you're seeing good footage of that, but they didn't end up being that relevant anyway. I went to Whiterun and recreated my Spartan trip of old, and cheated myself some Chaos Blades, which are A, weaker than the Leviathan Axe as far as I can see, and B, weapons you guys wouldn't have ever seen in this run, since they require Daedric smithing, which I never would have gotten normally. I also got myself the Blade of Olympus, which is probably the coolest weapon in this whole mod. It looks totally sick and hits like a monster. I then dispose of all the leftover material, equip my Blades of Chaos, of which there are 5 variants in total, that I suspect represent the Blades of Chaos in each game, hence the change in design and increase of damage between variants 1 through 5. Then I carriage to Markarth, stop a 4th murder because I'm the hero this city needs, and grab Remiel before heading to the border. I start and complete the first stages of a Stormcloak in Chains as soon as I arrive, and head to Snowstone Rest to start Barneas Tribute and Word to Bruma just like last time. On my way to Bruma, while getting the scenic shot, a couple of cutters ambush Remiel while I'm distracted, so I take them out and, after a bit of trekking, make it to the fair city of Bruma. Well, not before getting drugged by some college frat boys that never grew out of their drinking phase. They didn't even hurt or rob me, they just left me a note talking about how great my partying was. Anyway, Bruma. I see Gort and immediately start his generic fetch quest, start Cyrindil's quest, and listen to Renaud's awful singing. The goal right now is to get as many quests active as possible so I can just do them and turn them in instead of having to look to start them between each quest completed. Anyway, I get offered a quest by Alamu Nethri from the floor above me, which was weird, and start Alamu's Vale. After speaking to the owners of the inn, Stantis Valera and his wife Hlothra, I get a couple more quests as well. I also meet the inn's new bard replacing Renaud, who's also from Wayrest High Rock. If I forgot to mention earlier, Remiel is from Wayrest, so this is the second person I've talked to in this run that's from Wayrest. Elder Scrolls 6 High Rock confirmed. Moving right along, I get another 2 quests from a beggar in town, Ceruleus the Stagnant, and start the closest thing Bruma currently has to a main quest after speaking to the captain of the town guards, Addis Vilius. For specific detail on each quest, I'll go over that stuff as I'm playing through the quest. Anyway, while I have him, I play the memory gem from Cyrindil for his quest, where the captain unsurprisingly says that this dumb prank isn't illegal, and I can now tell Cyrindil that Benetor isn't in any trouble and complete the quest. He doesn't take that too well. After talking about a Champion of Cyrodiil museum and starting a new quest, I make my way over to the Restful Watchman and proceed to start another quest for Doomrag Gromorg. While speaking with Benetor, I press him about what he knows about information on some stolen Akaviri artifacts, for the Akaviri Antiquity quest I got from the guard captain, and find a lead in the form of a Brenton named Atian. But Benetor won't tell me where he is, so I'll have to revisit that. Before leaving, I tell Benator about his charges and Cyrindil leaving Bruma, and he's delighted by the news. With Visit Bruma, that's 2 quests down, about 40 to go. I then give Avar's note to Holgard, completing Word to Bruma. Next, I'll retrieve Gort's Book of Killing from Whitewood Creek, and while I'm out, I start the Horse Off Course quest for Elia the Upright, where I've got to find a paint horse of hers that's gone missing. After taking out some wolves, a bandit highwayman, walking past these innocent, definitely not asshole ogres, and walking past this cave of what I think is minotaurs, I finally make it to Whitewood Creek, kill the Guardian Spriggan, and get Gort's book. But to complete the quest, I still have to collect 3 iron ingots for him, so that quest isn't quite finished yet. Instead, I got a quest to kill a goblin chief earlier, and figure that seeing as I'm already pretty close, now's the time to do it. I make it to Silvertooth Cave, kill some goblins, kill a goblin warlord, kill some more gobbos, and kill the goblin shaman by the skin of my teeth. There are a couple of other goblins left, but since I took out the boss of the dungeon, I'm a little less concerned and just go ahead and... well, that's it. I'm officially taking the L on the Ironman part of the challenge. I'll still play it in Inconceivable difficulty, but I'm over 6 hours in on recorded footage, and while I don't know how long the video is so far, you see how long it's been so far and how much is left. So while I still want to finish the challenge, I will be saving and loading from saves from this point on. I go ahead and switch to my God of War 2 Chaos Blades for a bit of a harder hit and hopefully a stronger effect of whatever it actually does, re-clear the dungeon, and turn in the quest. When I do, I also ask around about the Akaviri artifacts, but don't get any more information. I do, however, get a lead on Doomrag's quest after Rignar sleeps on my request for approximately 5 seconds. I then speak with Dartacto, who has 2 quests. One to collect 10 bear pelts, and one to clear his name of a theft he's accused of. While speaking to the guard captain for this quest, he gives me a letter to pressure Benator into telling me where Etienne is for the Akaviri Antiquity quest, but unfortunately my speech isn't high enough to get Dartacto's charges leveled. Well, I decide to start and finish a simple, low-stakes quest now, and do the cider delivery to Apple Watch for the owners of the Geraldview Inn. On my way I fight a headless vampire fledgling? Okay. But that's pretty much the only thing that happens, as Apple Watch is right there, and I give the delivery to Gurgis Malamia. He has a quest for me, the Big Bad Wolf, where I've got to kill a special wolf called Grimclaw that's been harassing the village, so I grab it for later. I turn in the delivery quest and get a quest for a shipment to Greenwood, which is our last shipment quest for the Geraldview Inn. I also get a bounty quest for a bandit at Capstone Cave, which, coupled with our goblin shaman kill, is our last bounty for the run. We are certainly making progress. For now, I go to talk to Relnte, an Argonian beggar in town, about the horrible singer Renaud, which starts the quest, Screeching Songman. I have to convince him to shut the hell up, but in return somebody stole his special loot and he wants it returned. Apparently, someone at the Restful Watchman knows a thing or two about it, so while I'm there I give Benator the letter from the guard captain, pressing him to tell me where Etienne is. I then talk to Crouches and Crevices about Renaud's loot, but my speech isn't high enough to get any information from him. Doomrag, though, asks me to tell him who kidnapped his wife for his quest, and now I have to find out who to accuse. Since I'm having no luck with the Screeching Songman quest, I decide to go retrieve Ceruleus's journal at the Plump Rat camp. Who names these places? So I have a bit of a tough time getting to this bandit camp, as you'll see. First, I grab Greenwood as a fast travel point, then I save this herbalist from some cutters, another quest complete, and then I get one shot by this bear. That's what I was talking about at the beginning of the run, how this differs from a normal legendary run. If I had just hit the bear a second time with my other blade, I would have won. But I played defensively, which would have cost me that entire playthrough if I were still Ironmanning. One single avoidable mistake. Well, I run it back, and this time I kill the cutters, but get ambushed by the bear who has somehow retained his memories from his past life, like the Avatar or something, and has set this trap for me. I think I may have pissed myself when that happened. Third time, and the herbalist bugs out and traps me in an infinite, inescapable dialogue, so I reload from my last save. Again. I thought she got me again, but when a wolf attacks us, I'm able to escape and get one shot by the bear again. However, I load from the save I made just before talking to the herbalist and kill the bear, getting a pelt for Dartacto. I'm pretty sure I had to use Tap Divinity and become a god to kill that bear, but I don't know for sure. I get to the camp and things don't go much better. I try 5 times to clear out the camp with Spartan Rage, and though I suffer many deaths from either a one-shot or not being able to access healing items or regenerate fast enough, I was able to clear them out with some fancy maneuvering with my God of War 2 Chaos Blades at the end.
Ceruleus gets his journal back, and I get a ring of magic suppression and some levels in one-handed and blocking as a reward. Next, I speak to Rosada the Resplendent to start his quest of collecting payment from 3 people around town who bought his sham magic items and haven't paid yet. Instead, I'm gonna go kill Grimclaw for Apple Watch. I die on my first attempt because the wolf pack is able to surround me, but on my second attempt, I take them all out and turn in the quest, as well as start the last of Apple Watch's quests, Horse Meet Troll. A horse named Red Diamond has disappeared from town, and I gotta find it. But first, I deliver Stantis' shipment to Greenwood and start Water Run Dry, a quest where I have to clear out those totally innocent ogres from earlier because they're guarding Greenwood's water supply. I decide to tell Stantis that I got the shipment taken care of first to finish that quest, and try to collect his payment to Razzle Dazzle while I'm there. But he's angry that the magic thing didn't work, shocker, and won't pay. Well, I'm off to kill a bandit leader at Capstone Cave to find the whereabouts of Etienne. I get the info almost immediately, but decide to go ahead and clear out the cave. It was actually easy, and apparently I had some other quests to clear out that cave and can get paid when I turn that quest in. I turn in the bandit murder quest and attempt to get the resplendent repayment from the other 2, and while I try to get payment from a Synod mage, Cadius Venusius, the leader of the Bruma Synod mages, gives me some quest about some underpass or some guy named Nuts or something. I don't know, I wasn't listening. I grab my resplendent money from Roland Wickhart while I'm there, and because Cadius has a problem with items teleporting into their mage hall, it falls to me to solve their problem. Payment from Ilya the Upright is another easy one, so I'm not gonna let Stannis stop me from completing this quest. Taking full advantage of my ability to now load from a save, I pickpocket the coin off of him and complete the quest. Before I take Stannis' money though, I get another quest from Elena Ironheart to find her missing father. Now I'm off to find Red Diamond in the Gerals. Its tracks lead to Boreal Stone Cave, where we unfortunately find its corpse, having been eaten by an ogre. If the quest name Horse Meets Troll didn't set off any ringing alarms. I try to kill the ogre and get, of course, one shot. I decided to cut out all the middlemen and go straight to the Blade of Olympus, seeing as one of my attacks with the God of War 3 Chaos Blades barely did anything. For some reason the blade doesn't swing and I die immediately. But over the course of the next 5 attempts, I maneuver and strategize just enough to fell this beast with my tap divinity, giving me the power of the God of War, the Son of Zeus, and the Blade of Olympus giving me the power of the Gods of Olympus. I tell Gurgis the unfortunate news, and with that, all of Apple Watch's quests are finished. With me now moving on to clearing the ogres at Greenwood, since apparently taking over 6 attempts to kill 1 ogre made me think I could somehow easily kill 3 ogres at once. Well, as close as I was that time, surely this won't be too hot. 21 attempts in all, and it took me abusing Leviathan's freezing power to win. Couldn't do it with Spartan Rage, the Chaos Blades, the Blade of Olympus, nothing, and those were 3 babies. Anyway, I turn in that quest and start a quest to kill a cut purse and his little group of 5 to 10 bandits. Before that, we find out that Etienne's been duped by his Akaviri antiquity stealing cohorts, and that they made off with the loot without him down in a tunnel under Botram's house. To go ahead and knock it out, I complete the quest where I go to Harold Birdson's Sham Hero of Kvatch Museum, and I even pay a bunch of gold to touch a snot rag and a sword. A snot rag supposedly used by the champion of Cyrodiil, and a normal sword that is said to have been used by him, but probably not. Moving on, I ask Celis about Haran, the missing father, and get nothing of importance. But I also get an ingredient collecting quest from Anonril, which is the whole reason I've been collecting so many ingredients so far. I had most of what she wanted, but still needed some milk thistle. I check back with Roland Wickhart of the Synod Mages to see if he knows anything about the teleporting items, and more stuff appears. I tell Cadius, and he wants me to examine some of the teleported items, so naturally I speak with Lasinia, Elena's mother and wife of Haran, instead. She tells me he was serving at Fort Pale Pass, where that Stormcloak in Chains is, and I keep that in mind as I head to Sentinel to take care of that cut person and his crew. First time, I jump right in with Spartan Rage, and it doesn't go so well, but second time's the charm. Oh, well, surely the third time goes better.
Care of that.
So this time I'm like, okay, enough just running in there, this isn't a problem, you can just steamroll, and after a bit of tactics, I'm able to destroy the group with my Spartan Rage. With that quest complete and the list of quests quickly dwindling, I go ahead and collect the Motherwort for Barneus' tribute. See, that old man at the Snowstone Rest Inn used to have a lifelong companion dog named Barneus who passed away, and the old man wants to honor him with a tribute at his grave. Once we attend this genuinely tear-jerking eulogy, we complete the quest, but this isn't the last time we'll be seeing Old Airless. After that, I go to the Northern Arms blacksmith store and just buy Gort his last 2 iron ingots, completing Gort's generic fetch quest. I then go ahead and knock out my last 2 glaring item quests, one for 5 ancient Nordic weapons, the other for a filled common soul gem, and start a quest from Banis Jukani to find his dog Scruffy, who's run away from home. I go grab Scruffy, but since he has bruising and signs of abuse, I give him to Airless instead. Actually happy that old man has another companion again. Alright, next is Horse Off Course, where I go to this camp and kill all these assholes with my God of War 3 Chaos Blades and rescue Ilya's paint horses. I head to Frozen Grotto to retrieve Alamu's heirloom for the Alamu's Veil quest, but the closest fast travel point is Whitewood Creek, which is a minute away from the grotto. I get to Whitewood Creek and collect some milk thistle, but it takes like 20 to 30 minutes for me to get to the grotto. On my way over, I get killed by a random bandit camp, but I climb out of Hades and kill them all in revenge anyway. When I make it to the Frozen Grotto, I get jumped by this loser who reveals that he's a drug dealer and Alamu is using me as a drug mule. I try to kill him with the God of War 2018 Chaos Blades, and for some reason, even though it looks like he died, he didn't and one-shots me. So I reload and make sure to take him out this time, just like Kratos did to Magni and Modi. With Neldum dead, I open the package and take the skooma for myself. With Neldum dead, I fast travel back to Bruma, tell the guards of Alamu's heinous actions, explode through a wall, and get Alamu arrested. I give Ananril her ingredients, completing her quest, and now we're finally on the last couple of quests. First, I do a quest where I have to find 3 dead Stormcloaks around Bruma to unlock some hidden treasure. Most difficult part about that one was killing this bear at the beginning and finding all 3 bodies. One of the bodies, I thought, was inside of this cave, North Fringe Cave, where I fought through a bunch of wolves and fought my way through an entire Nordic Draugr dungeon with my God of War 2018 Chaos Blades. Killing several dozen Draugr, nearly dying after stepping on a frost rune, dying here and while fighting the boss of the dungeon and his cronies, taking them out, and clearing the dungeon. Except the body wasn't in the cave. It was 5 feet south of the entrance. Anyway, final body is an easy find because I'm using a guide at this point, so mission complete. For the next quest, I just do some advertising for the Bruma's Fighters Guild by putting up 5 posters around town. Nothing special. Now we're finally gonna get to the both of who kidnapped Dumbass's wife. Okay, that's a sentence. By talking to a couple of people and intensely interrogating it's this guy. His poker face is literally this. I nab his journal with the proof, give it to Dumrag, and am sent to go and find evidence at his manor. After eviscerating his manor guards, I find the proof in a letter that I take to Dumrag for confirmation. I head back, this time Dumrag in tow, and we find out where Gautier is hiding, in a cellar with a trapdoor entrance hidden under a barrel. Plot twist, Dumrag's wife wasn't kidnapped, she's in love with Gautier and ran away with him. I wasn't sure if Kratos would let Dumrag make his own decisions whether or not to get revenge and stay out of it, or try to convince him that it isn't worth it, but ultimately, Kratos' most famous catchphrase in recent years, "We must be better," leads me to convince Dumrag to let it go. I went ahead and knocked out Frostfire Unleashed at this point, the only quest that is, to my knowledge, either broken or unfinished. The basics of the quest is just go through Frostfire Cave, get to the special glade, defeat the Glade Guardian boss, GG. So that's what I did. I sliced my way through some bears for their pelts for D'Artacto, all the Frost Atronachs, the Flame Atronach, and the Ogre in the cave after 3 attempts, felling him finally with the Blade of Olympus. Next to fall is the Guardian of Frostfire Cave, a special Frost Atronach that I totally destroy. But he's only the Guardian of the cave, not the final boss of the dungeon. Now, with both Frost Salt and Fire Salt, we create refined Frost Salt, open the glade doors, and fight the Guardian of the Frostfire Glade. He dies in 3 slashes from the Chaos Blades, and I am rewarded Garridan's Mithril Helmet and the Pilgrim's Cudgel. Then it's finally time to clear out all those bandits beneath Bottram's house and recover the Akafiri artifacts. Defeating the bandits is child's play at this level with these weapons and this much experience with getting one shot. An added bonus is that I get my 10th and final bear pelt for D'Artacto down there as well. I give Count Carvain back his Akaviri jewels and complete what is, for all intents and purposes, the main quest of Skyrim Beyond Bruma. And now for the 2.5 hours of wrap-up. I get D'Artacto his pelts, cheat my speech to 100 because, like smithing, I am not spending hours leveling it up, and I need a 100 speech for a Stormcloak and Chains anyway, get D'Artacto's charges dropped, get D'Artacto as a companion after he gets evicted, which is awesome since I've been really warming up to this guy, and finish my first major quest in Bruma, a Stormcloak and Chains, by killing off the Stormcloak's allies and giving him to the Pentas Oculatus. I get a lead on Haran, the missing father who should be working here, from Varro, but before going to find him, I have a couple of other quests I'd like to knock out first. Now, here's something a little irritating. I spoke to Crouches and Crevices about the loot, and he told me everything I need to know about it, but the quest for some reason didn't register that, so now I go looking for the bandits that stole Renaud's loot, and they're nowhere to be found. Only after going all the way back to Crouches and having him repeat himself does the quest continue. Add to that, immediately after approaching the bandit cave, I get jumped in one shot. Not to worry though, because round 2... What, did you think some mere bandits could defeat my Spartan rage? Anyway, I sort things out with Renaud to shut the hell up. Relmte is happy with that. I let him keep his money because he needs it more than I do. I get a special reward for my kindness. And, moving on to the Synod mages and their item problem, I collect all the teleported items, have them examined, and get jumped by a zombie. The zombie itself is easy enough to kill, but some friendly fire happens, and well, long story short, I would have been extremely pissed if this is what had ended the Ironman run. We take care of the zombie more carefully this time, and I'm off to Frostcrag Spire to deal with the mages there, teleporting a bunch of shit to the Synod Mage Hall by accident. First, though, I go ahead and take care of this Nuts quest or whatever in the Underpall, and it's actually a blast! The whole time I've been having carry capacity issues because I'm a hoarder and a scavenger, so while I took out the first couple of enemies, skeletons and necromancers, with the Chaos Blades, I switched to the tons of scrolls I saved up later on. I killed a necromancer with some fire bolts, damaged a zombie with lightning bolts, finished him off with a Chaos Blade, used a bunch of resurrection scrolls, healed Remiel when she gets downed, accidentally waste probably the best scroll for this dungeon on a non-hostile zombie like a fool, wipe out the necromancer boss of the dungeon, the sister of the leader of the Synod Mages, and all of her zombie helpers with a scroll of Firestorm, and demolish this last guy with a Chaos Blade throat stab. Absolutely guttural. I finish that quest and move on to the Frostcrag Spire one. The climb took a while, but after I made it to the top, the quest was really as simple as talk to some people. Didn't leave empty-handed though, I got a quest to hunt down and kill a scamp while I was there. I finished the teleporting items mission, went back, reverse-scaled the mountain, found an unassuming, actually a bloody cabin in the woods, checked inside, and found the scamp and the corpses of the former residents. I took out the scamp with one swing, and I felt bad for the simple hunter, until I found his moon sugar stash, until I saw the corpse of his poor dog, then I felt bad for him again. Emotional roller coaster that was. Anyway, turned the scamp quest in, and now it's on to clearing out an ancient Iliad dungeon, Riel. This was probably the closest thing to a base game special dungeon. I did a lot of healing spell stuff for this dungeon, which allowed me to trivialize all the undead skeleton and zombie/Draugr type enemies, even though they were all pretty tough. At the end, I got to face off against an ancient, powerful lich wizard named Cyrillaran, and while normally I think you can talk to him and ask him a bunch of questions about lore stuff, I think the dialogue bugged out, so I just looted the place, buffed up a ton with potions and poisons, and swung on him. I've been rocking the God of War Ragnarok Chaos Blades for a while now, and nothing's really been able to survive even a single normal hit, but this guy was tough, especially for the typically frail wizard type and the typically frail undead type. Even with all the potions and poisons and the strongest Chaos Blades I've got, he barely flinched. More poison, 2 more shots, he's fine and I'm crumpling like paper. Finally, with more poison, 2 more slashes, and Remiel getting some shots in, does he return to Aetherius for his final slumber. I then take his cool helmet and stick thingy and I dip. Winding down with the last couple of quests, some low-level stuff I saved for the end. I help Mucky Ovaka, quite a name, by killing some bandits that were looking to kill her, and a Spartan's rage is enough to drop the lot of them. She's happy to hear it when I tell her, and for me, it's off to Serpent's Trail to clear out some bandits. Funnily enough, I unfortunately find Haran down there as well, deceased. At least his family finally gets some closure. Now, using the Blade of Olympus on what might be my very last major dungeon, I cleave through the riff-raff bandits like butter, like paper, like my wife and daughter at the start of the first game. Oh. Well, the last 2 smugglers pay me back for that joke. But one good hit on each of them with that kind of power, and you had to know they didn't stand a chance. Funny enough, these smugglers were also in possession of an amulet I needed to recover for another quest. So that's literally 3 quests completed in 1 dungeon. I inform Huron's family about his passing, return Era's amulet that I didn't even know was hers, and waited for Varro to give me my final quest, a quest to clear the subsection of Fort Pale Past of a pest infestation. But since he never sent me the letter, I took initiative and bummed the key off of Varro and went in to clear up the problem myself. Deciding to finish this run the same way I started it, I equipped the Leviathan Axe, not the starting one but the 2-handed version I made at the forge, and head down to wipe out the den of spiders, my old enemies. After a scroll of Hysteria and a scroll of Firestorm wipes out the first room of them, I move through the dungeon and carefully, methodically, and systematically cut down each and every spider in the dungeon. Ironically, the boss of the dungeon, which I was expecting to be an absolute monster spider with a new creature model that was bigger and scarier than a normal frostbite spider, was just a normal giant frostbite spider. I actually killed it before I even realized it was the broodmother I'd have been sent here to kill. In hindsight, it took 3 slashes to kill, so it had to have been pretty strong, but my expectations were through the roof, so it never occurred to me that it could just be a strong, normal spider. Now that I'm finished with the run, I now know that you can beat Skyrim Beyond Bruma on Inconceivable difficulty, and while you definitely can Ironman it on Inconceivable difficulty as well, unfortunately, I was unable to. Like with the last Ironman challenge, it's definitely possible if you just keep going. You know, give it a month and a half and you can probably no-hit this challenge, which would more than accomplish the Ironman part of the challenge. But since I'm on a timetable, I try to play through the game at a medium pace rather than a leisurely one. As for the Inconceivable part of the run, I loved it! It's so much more tactical and exciting than a normal legendary run where you're just pummeling something for 4 hours only to die after it sneezes on you. In this, it's equal opportunity one-shot, and I gotta say, if I wasn't worried about finishing the run and moving on to other projects, I would probably Inconceivable Ironman the main story and DLCs as well. It was that fun. The fact that, even if you die and lose all your progress, you can start all over, use your real-life experience with prior runs, and improve them to perfection is so fun. They should make a game out of the oh my Todd, I just realized this is basically Dark Souls. Well, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like the video, comment what you liked, what you want to see next, or anything else you'd like to say, and subscribe to the channel for more RPG games and challenge run videos. Alright, I've been Red Fox, the king of the noobs. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.